everyone, and welcome back to Epic or Trash. With me is my special guest, Sheriff D. Sheriff.
Howdy.
And today we're going to be about a couple of videos today about gaming and developers and what we think as far as developers having let's see, how should I phrase this in a way that makes sense? Developers and their takes on how their games should be made comparatively to what the audience wants. First, we're going to start with Japan Comes First. A Japanese producer refuses to change the visions for, how do I pronounce that?
Visions
for
of
Mana
Mana.
for a woke. Yep, Visions for Mana for woke Western audiences by Yellow Flash 2. And then we're going to be watching Spaceman Scott's Developer Trolling Ethics of Developer Trolling in Games. Phenomenal videos. I'll try to remember to link them below so you guys can watch them for yourselves and come back to our video to give your takes on how you feel about it. So without further delay, let's start with first.
So, about 11 days ago, there was a trailer that dropped for the game called Visions of Mana. I'm sure, even though there's a whole bunch of these games, I think most people are probably more familiar with Secret of Mana, the old Super Nintendo game. A fun game. Love that game. Watch the trailer for this game. Actually looks pretty good. I'll probably check this game out. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know if it says it in here. Summer 2024 on pretty much every platform. Don't see Nintendo on there, but who knows? Looks good. Here's some gameplay of it if you just want to see what it looks like. Here's some of the gameplay. Very Japanese game. I'm sure you can tell by the art style. Why I'm talking about this, though, is some of the things that the producer of the game has been saying.
So I want to pause it there just right off the bat and say that I like the visual graphics of it, but I've never been a big fan of like third-person view turn battles. I've never been a big fan of that. I've always preferred first-person shoot-'em styles where it's real-time, quote-unquote, real-time combat. What about you, Sheriff?
It's not for everyone. I've been known to enjoy it sometimes with games like Crisis Core, Dissidia sort of being the same sometimes. I mean, technically Dissidia was more first person, but in my opinion it had quite a few third person elements, especially considering it compared to First versus the Duodecim. If you might remember that. It's back in the old PSP days.
It sounds familiar to me. But, yeah, no, it sounds familiar to me. But I don't think it's, the PSP. We're talking about, like, that was that PlayStation mobile device, right?
Yeah, the first, second, and third handhelds they did, they sort of worked on the same idea, and then we had the PS Vita, which went sort of the Nintendo route by using cards instead of the little discs.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's right. I remember those. I had to think about it for a second. It's been a while since I've
Well, I still got mine.
It's been see, because the one we had broke on us, if I remember correctly. I forget exactly what happened, but I think it was like the card reader broke, which sucked. If I remember correctly, that console was a major failure. Well, anyhow,
PS Vita certainly was, but I'm not 1000% sure on the specifics of that. It may have been that they moved, partly because they moved away from the discs. It may also be just that the titles that people wanted weren't on there. But like, if Xbox decided to stop playing Halo on it,
Pretty much so. Well, let's continue on with the video.
I like his messaging here. Visions of Mana producer refuses to change series identity for Western audiences. It is best to deliver the game based on the developer's creative vision. So the thing of it is you've got a lot of these Western studios out here trying to capture modern audiences. You've got a lot of people in Japan now trying to look and see if they can maybe get their revenue up by trying to appeal to Western audiences, which is a huge mistake. So I like it when these guys come out and say, look, we're not going to change the game for you. We want you to enjoy it for the same reasons everybody's been enjoying it for the first decade that this has been out, however long these games have been made. We want to make the game for the fans. And maybe you'll like the game for the same reasons as them. Now, we're going to change it up and get this new modern audience, which is what a lot of people are doing now, and I don't like it. So I like the message he's putting out there. And adding his voice to the ever-growing chorus of Japanese creatives who are refusing to compromise their artistic endeavors for Western sensibilities, Square Enix's Mana series producer, and that's his name right there. I'm sure I would just brutalize it, so you just highlight it in case you can get through there. Has declared that rather than bringing in new fans by changing the action RPG line's core identity, he hopes to do so by celebrating those elements which have made it popular in Japan for a long time. And I think that is the right stance. I think you let people come in, because especially with a lot of these Japanese games, to me, a lot of that is part of the charm. I don't want them to be westernized.
So my first question is, what does he mean by westernized? What is he referring to? Would be my first question to him. What are you talking? What we're talking about, like a westernized, like women have no boobs, and the guys aren't allowed to have beards, or what are we talking about here?
I think they're talking about a multivariate thing. Like, you gotta look at things like aesthetics. How does that look? What are they doing that is culturally relevant? There's, to be honest, there's a whole lot of things. I mean, there's things that are permissible in Japan that are not permissible so much here in the West, if we think of it that way.
Well, that is true. I've seen. I mean,
just say anime, and most people should get it.
I was gonna say hentai is like the biggest example of that, of how weird. And I probably shouldn't talk too much trash, but the Japanese culture is a bit weird. I mean, when you got vending machines that can give you dirty underwear, I'm just saying maybe you're going a little too far.
Much so, I suppose, by our standards, but for them, it may well be that they say it's better that they have a way to get it legally than to be basically jumping girls in the street and saying, "Give me your underwear," and then running off.
Yeah, that's a fair enough statement. That is a very fair enough statement.
There's a reason why it's mandatory that phones in Japan have to have that click sound you can't turn off when you use the default camera app.
Oh, yeah. I was watching a video today about, and I don't mean to get too off topic, but to quickly sum her up, I was watching a video today about a guy that got caught. He had been following this one lady around, and she turned around and started, like, taking her phone and started filming the guy, right? So the guy turned around, stuck his phone underneath the lady's skirt, and went to take a picture of it. When the other lady he had followed around, because I didn't get the names, started filming and was demanding to know what he was doing, and he stated he did nothing wrong. And I was like, because apparently he got the picture, and the lady caught him getting the picture. And
I'm not surprised, man.
Yeah, like Nier, I don't understand why people. It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense on why you would do
Well,
that.
for all the complaints that the birth rate in the West has dropped, it has dropped way more in Japan. Like, I know that here, well, I think usually when I say here, it's probably the States from all the stuff I'm reading. A lot of under 30s aren't having sex. That's just a fact. Pew Research has shown that. And it's worse in Japan, literally. So you get a lot of frustrated people. They do crazy stuff just because they're basically not getting any.
Yeah. I mean, and I love all these, like, quote unquote alpha males that offer you, if you pay us $10,000, we'll teach you to be an alpha male. I'm not going to pay you 10 grand to be bitched at. If I wanted that, I'll just join the military, because they'll pay me to chew my ass out at least.
Or at least take me out to dinner first.
Yeah, before you try to fucking talk about how you're so dominant and you're so masculine and that you're so strong.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people just don't, in my opinion at least, they just need to get their lives together. That's all. That's what I think personally. I don't know how people live. That's their business. But I can tell you that if I was sitting at home at my parents' house, drinking energy drinks all day on the computer, complaining my life hasn't changed for the past 3 years, I think I need to realize that a good chunk of that is actually in my own hands to change.
I mean, if you hate me, you could just say it. I'm just kidding. Well, for one, I don't drink energy drinks.
Mountain Dew technically would be counted as an energy drink, I believe, with all the caffeine in it.
No, it's a soda. It's a quote unquote soft drink. And
It wasn't necessarily aimed at you though. To be fair, full disclosure and whatnot. It's just in general because get a lot of keyboard warriors and the like who go around and they say, "Well, life should be the way I want it to be." And it's like, well, your life is the way you don't want it to be because you aren't doing anything to change it.
that's true. A lot of people just they just choose not to. And I don't mean to get super preachy either, because I'm not exactly the world's greatest person at getting my life together. But I've noticed that a lot of people just like they'll sit there and they'll complain about everything, and then when you offer them advice, and this is not aimed at any one particular person, but when you sit there and you offer them advice about what you've been through and what you recommend they should do, the person takes it and goes, "How dare you? You insult me. You hurt my feelings. You're not my friend anymore." And I find that ridiculous. I just find that really ridiculous.
Well, it's all our own opinion, so it is what it is.
True. Well, let's continue on with the video.
It's fun to experience some of that Japanese culture through these games. And I think some of the game's charm will be lost if you try to chase an American audience for a buck. You're kind of compromising your creative vision here, like he's saying. And I think he's right. I don't want to play Visions of Mana made for Western audiences. I want to play the game that was made for the fans that already existed. And I wish more developers would have this approach. I think Japan's video game studios are in a good position to really take a lot of market back, especially with all of the strange shit going on over in the West. I mean, you've seen what's been going on lately. I've been covering the hell out of it. I think you're seeing a lot of people really starting to raise their eyebrows, especially with what they're doing with female characters. I mean, look at the...
So apologies, folks. stupid me decided that I needed to pull a cable and break stuff, so I guess that means that I get to be fired.
Inform you that you're fired. All right.
So, now that I've been officially fired, how's your day been? So,
Fine, as long as you're not working at Tesla.
you know what? That's fair enough. So, they get back to what he was saying. I disagree with that, and the reason why I disagree with his standpoint is that is it really corrupting? Are you really corrupting your vision for the Western audiences when you could make the game differently for the North America, from not just the U.S. but like Canada, Mexico, countries like that, and then make a different game for the European Union, like Pokemon did, at least from what I've heard Pokemon has done. Do you agree or disagree with me, Sheriff?
I disagree, my dude. Most of that's just region locking. You know, you sort of just get two versions of the game, which doesn't matter which country you go to, even if it's a different region, you still got Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. Unless, of course, you go back a little bit further forward from that, and it's Pokemon Silver, Gold, and then Crystal, which sort of bridge the gap between the two. I'd say it's a bit like the Halo series at the moment, where they've revealed Master Chief's face, but the fact is that many of us just liked not knowing what Master Chief was supposed to look like. Like, we knew from one of the Halo games he was probably a white dude. We got to see a part of his face and his eyes when he took his helmet off, but really, he could be anyone or anything. He's just someone behind a mask, and you're playing as him. And it just ruins the spell when you realize that there's another version where, quite frankly, how to put this? Well, you know it's different to what you've got. And imagine being a developer, because this is the other side of the coin. Imagine being a developer, you've spent 10 years, potentially, making this game, watching trends change, hoping that this sells well, that people enjoy the game, only to have people say, well, we don't like it because you're not catering to our beliefs. Or to effectively change it to suit someone else's belief, just because you're afraid of how well it's going to sell. I mean, Battlefield Bad Company 2 was a good example of that. You may recall me mentioning the American Mothers Association, as I call them, because they didn't like them saying that the baddies were the Taliban, so that's to say it was Op 4. And in my opinion, that's when EA sold out.
Yeah, we're calling back to the first video with Rich, and funny enough, he's actually right there in the corner of the video. Even when I don't watch his content, I still can't get away from him. Yeah, I remember, like I said, I remember that in the video, and you were talking about that, and we talked about how bad EA is. So I suppose that if we're going to condemn them for that, then I have to applaud the developers from Japan for not bowing to what a few people say. Because I had to imagine this is not like a massive group of people that are demanding that they change the content. This is probably just like a few people who are just like, I don't like that. It's got Japanese culture in it. Why doesn't it fit my culture?
Yeah. So it's a bit like, I suppose, what's the most American thing I can think of at the moment? The flag. There's one right beside you, the flag. Imagine if I said, hang on, your flag doesn't cater to my culture. You need to add a Union Jack in the corner right over those stars, because that way I feel included. You're going to look at me and say, sir, you can kindly leave politely before I decide that I'm going to get my shooting iron.
Before I pull the big iron from my hip and take you down with it.
Yeah. It's you can either leave now under your own power, or you can crawl out of here after I shoot out your kneecaps.
Like, your choice. Yeah, I fully understand that. That's about how I feel about it if you screwed with the Star Spangled Banner. And I'm aware that's the name of the national anthem. That's not actually the name of the flag. I believe the name of the flag is Old Glory. I could be wrong, but that's the name of the flag.
Well, that's just what I'm saying. I mean, imagine if you're in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor, and the local Hawaiian people say, "Well, we don't like that your ship down there has that big structure over it. Why don't you build one of our traditional structures on top of it?" All of a sudden, you got new construction going around it, and people start getting worried you're disturbing a war grave.
Yeah, I've always been kind of weary about like rebuilding over the top of stuff like that, especially like with Ground Zero, for example. I think personally, Ground Zero should be left the way it is, as a stark reminder of what happened, to not allow history to be forgotten. But that's just my opinion. I don't think I'm going to meet too many, at least as far as my fellow brethren Americans, disagreeing with me. Maybe on the left side, but this is not a political channel, so we're not here to talk too much politics. Let's keep going.
Meltdown people are having over Stellar Blade, for God's sake. So I think a lot of these Japanese studios are in a good position right now to just make the games they want to make. And, you know, I think you're going to find a lot of Western people interested in what you're doing, especially if you deliver a good product, which this game probably is. I'm sure this is a fine game. I'm going to probably, if I have time, check it out. I like these kinds of games. I haven't played one in a while. It'd be nice to play one of these games, actually. So I like what he's saying. I'm not going to change it to try to get some quick buck. I want to please the fans that have always been there. And I think that's the right way to go about it. And I hope that more of these studios over there start to realize that maybe chasing a lot of these woke values aren't going to bring in the money that they thought it would. Stick to making good games, which is what they've been doing. So, anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'd like to hear from you in the comments. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video, hit that notification bell, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications.
Pause it real quick. I guess to tie my opinion up on this video before we move on to the next one, as far as I'm concerned, I think he did a pretty good job of it. I wish it was a little bit longer and went a little more in depth into the article, and he gave a little more on his take. So if I had to rate the video, I'd probably say 3 out of 5. What about you, Sheriff? What do you think?
Well, I think he could have gone a little bit deeper into what the problem, sort of comparing Japanese culture in the game to what it could look like as a American-focused game. I mean, we could just say they'd add an American flag on it, but that's pretty low-hanging fruit. Let's get down to brass bolts, What exactly would they have to change to make it more, quote-unquote, woke?
And what star rating would you give it from 0 to 5?
About a 3 myself as well. I mean, I like how he's just said, well, they said no. I mean, if it was me, I would have said, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair enough on that portion. So, with that, let's go ahead and let
YouTube.
him finish out here
Over here.
so we can start the next video.
My locals.
So,
Legalese, this is a joke. This is immediately worrying.
so he's gonna make quite a few jokes out to it, and Adam from Reflect Studios tends to get pretty butthurt about things. If you've never followed him on Twitter, you will get a laugh riot at some of the things he'll say, and he'll threaten legal action. I've seen it a couple of times. I don't know if those tweets are still up, but I've seen it a couple of times where he's like threatening legal action against people. So he's basically telling.
What did you say to make him threaten legal action?
I didn't do a damn thing. I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's.
You had me worried there. You were talking from personal experience.
Oh, well, I'm trying to be a little bit of the narrator here as far as this video is concerned. I've not had legal. Fuck me. I've not had personal experience with ever being threatened with a lawyer.
Harry, why do you keep inviting me to your bed?
I am not inviting you to my bed. What is wrong with you, mate? And no, for the people a part of the LGBTQ plus community, that was not a shot at you. That is not even remotely a shot at you. Don't take it as a shot at you.
No, that was literally a joke. His exact wording.
Yeah, in other words, for legal reasons, that was a joke. I might.
We have to do the same thing? I thought America had free speech.
That free speech only goes so far. Well, you got free speech, but you're not free of the consequences of your actions either.
Oh, you are.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
We need to get W down to War Crimes Tribunal then.
Oh, good lord. Okay, let's continue on the video before I piss off the rest of my audience.
That's my job.
Haha.
Oh, hey there. Couldn't help but notice my little modern art piece, could you? Yeah, really brings the place together, I think. Now, I know what you're thinking, because you're predictable. Scott, what the fuck am I looking at here? Well, you see, I decided to take a break from my routine content of nothing, and am starting to create things with the YouTube account I have. Wacky concept, I know. Turns out there is a big market for white dudes giving unsolicited opinions and video essays right now, and this is one of those. But on to this. You see, the reason I'm wearing this stupid shit and have this schizophrenic writing up here is because in this visual cacophony of incomprehensible ramblings lay a couple ethical questions that I want to talk about today. Primarily being, what sort of experiences are we promised when we play a game? Do we actually own any of the games that we play if they're in a digital format? And of course, number 3, should developers be able to mess with our games while we play them?
So, I'm going to pause it there real quick, and that was horrible timing on the pausing part, because now it looks like he's having a seizure. What is your opinion on those questions? Before we even watch the video, what do you think?
Well, if we don't own what we're paying for in some capacity, then why are we paying anything for it? Why not just have it being 100% microtransactions? You show up, you pay for the expansions and stuff in there, or you buy weapons with money or whatever. Like, genuinely, why do you pay any money if you don't own it?
How do you feel about developers being able to mess with the people who did buy their games?
Depends on what you refer to by messing with them. I mean, removing the games from your PlayStation account after you've played them without some form of compensation, like, I don't know, credit on the PlayStation Store or some kind of points to help go towards buying another game by the franchise. That's a bit of a, harsh to say, a bit of a dick move. Versus, I don't know, I've been hearing tales of how in Helldivers they're sort of just adding extra stuff to your game as you play, simply because you might be winning too easily. In which case, if it adds to the game, like if you're literally breezing through and saying this isn't challenging and it adds to the challenge, then yeah, go ahead.
Well, I from someone who like is studying cybersecurity, I kind of had to disagree with that because it feels like you're violating my privacy in the sense that you know my IP address now because obviously I've got to connect to your servers then to play your game. And if I bought the game with the intentions of not having to connect to servers to play the game, then I feel like I'm being, in a sense, violated because you now have my IP address. You can figure out where I live because most of your commercial routers you buy from your internet slash cable slash cell phone providers pretty much don't use dynamic IPs. They use static IPs. I've been told it's from brand to brand. I don't know what the ones I'm with, and I'm not going to name them so that way you people can't figure it out. But I personally don't think that it would be worth it, in my opinion, to allow developers to troll.
It depends. Like, it literally depends. One of those things. Like, if you have to connect to the server just to play the game, then yeah, that's a pretty big dick move. Like, you have the disc, you have the code on the box of the game. This is like talking about old school way of playing the game nowadays. You know, you had a code that said, yes, I have bought a legal copy of the game. Please let me install my game safely and I can then play the game. But to make me log into a server, I suppose in a way Steam does the same thing where they make you log in just to play the game when really you don't need to do that all the time. You should be able to just play the game, in my opinion.
That is fair enough. So let's start and listen to the beginning of his talkings because I think you'll find it, and you, the audience members, will find this very interesting as well. And no, I'm not trying to piggyback off his audience either.
Gentlemen, and those beyond the binary, welcome to Spaceman Scott.
Baller entrance.
We're going to start this video off by talking about the TikTok that inspired it all. A conspiracy theory post by Samantha Sims, or HalloweenHo69, discussing how they believe that Markiplier's 17-hour live stream of Welcome to the Game 2...
I'm just going to cut in real quick, and you can also follow me on TikTok at the Den of Tims. Sorry, shameless promotion.
...was tampered with and made unwinnable by the game's developer. The TikTok is pretty succinct, but for the sake of being thorough, as well as adhering to my fetish for long-form content, let me give you
I love the Markiplier face.
HalloweenHo69 and so many others believe this theory. Welcome to the Game 2 is the sequel to the indie horror game, Welcome to the Game.
God, this game journalism shit's easy.
The game is centered around a woman named Amelia from being killed by a deep web murder cult, known as Noir. You do this by scouring page upon page of the game's version of the deep web, attempting to find 8 hashes that will unlock a hidden tunnel to the shadow web, and thus aid you in saving Amelia. You must do all this while avoiding being assassinated,
Dick.
arrested,
Like, I did nothing, bro.
murdered,
Oh, come on.
or bludgeoned to death with a fucking hammer.
I love the guy doesn't fight back. He just allows himself to get brutally murdered.
Well, that's subtle. You play as an investigative reporter by the name of Clint Edwards, a man who the game's
Handsome
wiki has
fella.
no qualms with absolutely roasting the shit out of.
So, I'm going to read this part real quick, and then I'll ask you what you think about the premise of the game so far. Clint is extremely physically weak for a grown man. Boom! Epic roast. Absolutely epic roast. Oh! So, what do you think of the game? Oh, I got fired.
You're fired!
All right. So, what do you think of the premise of the game so far?
Keeps you on your toes, I imagine.
To me, it sounds like my blood pressure would probably instantly hit 200 just trying to play the game.
It reminds me of Slender Man, actually, now that I think of it.
Oh yeah, Slender Man. Man, I loved that character. Too bad they fucked up with the movie. I think they really screwed him up with that movie. That's just my opinion.
If I remember, it was a bit like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, wasn't it? If you see him, you keep an eye on him, and then he can't catch you. But the moment you look away, he's moving.
That was the mechanics of the game, but in the actual creepypasta of him, you can look at him all you want, he'll keep moving at you. Slender Hunt or Slender the New Arrival is the better example of that. Even if you're looking at him, he'll catch you. Because the way he works is he messes with your technology. Just making sure he wasn't behind me for some freaking reason, because I heard the camera do some funny noises. You stay over there. No. Back. Bad. Bad. Good boy. Anyhow. Real funny. Real funny. Oh, that's just even more insulting. Anyhow. Slender Hunt is like the better example of that. Even though if you're looking at him, it's actually worse, because that means he knows he's got you and he's going to chase you, running a sprint of about 30 miles an hour, which is more than enough to catch even the fastest Olympian. But he most of the time opts to teleport. Although I'm not sure how he teleports, but he's able to get around that way. That's his preferred method of getting around.
He's an Enderman, then.
Pretty much so. Well, that's actually where Enderman came from, was Slender Man. Notch, when he was developing Minecraft, actually wanted to implement Slender Man. But from what I understand, it was something about he couldn't get a hold of the copyrights for it, so he just changed the character to Enderman. But that was the inspiration for the character, was Slender Man. The other thing that makes Slender Man unique is that he has tentacles, 6 of them that stick out from his back, and they shoot out a type of fear toxin similar to Scarecrow. Well, with the difference being that his is much more potent. And there is no antidote or any way to remove the effects without being removed from his presence. That also, Slender Man is usually either 8 feet or 15 feet tall, depending on the description of him. But when you see him in most games, he's about 6 foot, maybe 7 foot. Which is... Yeah, no, he's not a short bastard by any stretch of the imagination. But anyhow,
That'll keep the ladies happy, then.
Oh, I'm sure he keeps the ladies happy, even though he eats children.
Well, I mean, 6 tentacles. If one gets sad, you just switch.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, let's move on.
Wolf,
Fucking get him.
buddy.
Aside from all of that, the plot of Welcome
You're a dumbass. You're great.
Okay, let's move on.
2 is mostly straightforward. However, the gameplay is a whole other beast.
Welcome to the Game 2 is not an easy game. You know, some people say that some games are like a commitment to get good with, or just take forever to learn the controls and essentially be able to know how to play effectively. Well, Welcome to the Game 2 is like an arranged marriage with a Rube Goldberg machine.
There are a near infinite amount of things for you to keep track of, like your motion sensors, police radio, how many lights you have on in your apartment, where to place your VPN, getting hacked, making money while you're getting hacked, stopping the process of getting hacked altogether, Wi-Fi networks, literal hacking into different Wi-Fi networks, power outages, hiding from hitmen, hiding from breathers, hiding from Noir, but not really because it's just actually a high-stakes game of peekaboo, and of course, Amazon delivery services.
Of course, Amazon has instant killing services. They've
I
got
thought that would be eBay.
probably not too far behind on that one. Oh God. Alrighty, let's. Oh good Lord, let's continue.
As I said, the game is demanding, requiring a lot of time, energy, skill, and unfortunately, luck to beat. But now that we know the basics of the game, let's talk more about the theory. Meet Adam the Web Pro Flatow, a self-proclaimed game programmer and the main guy running Reflect Studios. Adam's been making games for the better part of the last decade, with the Welcome to the Game series.
Doesn't that face scream somebody that you probably shouldn't piss off because he'll screw with you in ways you didn't even know was possible?
Oh, so it's a Scientologist then. That explains why Tom Cruise is on my front doorstep right now.
Well, I guess you're screwed there, buddy. But it makes you feel like a
Dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're great. You're great. Around, fuck around, I fuck around.
Oh, I love. Guys, if you're not in the Discord, you need to join the Discord, and you can do that by joining my Patreon. I was going to sneak that in at some point. So join the Patreon. $5 a month gets you special videos like these, and you get to join our Discord and get to use the funny soundboard that we have here. With that, let's continue on with the second part of it, the theory, and then we'll commentate some more.
His flagship IP, not including his other works like Scrutinized or the definitely one day totally gonna be released Riot of Strangers. I make jokes, but in truth, it's actually pretty astounding the amount of work that Adam's put into his games, with Welcome to the Game 2 itself being the product of over 2,000 man-hours between pretty much just 2 people, Adam and another developer. Our other person of interest is Mark Fishbach, a YouTuber who's been on the platform, so you know who Markiplier is. Move on.
So I am going to pause it there real quick to explain to some of the people here who may not have heard of Markiplier or barely know him. Markiplier, real name Mark Edward Fishbach, is a Korean-American YouTuber that originally came from Hawaii, got popular in Ohio when he left medical school to start YouTube full-time, and has been a full-time YouTuber and streamer ever since. He's made a couple of documentaries. He's made multiple popular YouTube TV show series and games. He's mostly well known for his commentary while gameplaying, which quite a few of his buddies, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, Good Times with Bob, and Lord Minion, and a few others who he's met throughout the years also do. For those of you who are not aware of it, that's who he is. So
Is it Jaguk there?
he currently lives in Los Angeles. The guy's in his mid-30s now, if I remember correctly. So with that, all that context in mind, Sheriff, I think you're going to find this theory pretty interesting.
For those of you who don't know, Markiplier famously played Welcome to the Game 2 for a combined 17 hours across 6 different live streams, and it went
Horribly, to say the least.
pretty good. Over the course of each stream, you can see Mark slowly improve his strategy and skill to game, learning new tactics, improving on the ones he already knows, and learning in real time, often the hard way, what to and not to do. But all the while, and in classic Markiplier fashion, he had no issues sharing his true feelings about the game.
But
As he always
excited
does.
about this game, I mean, I don't know if it's actually going to be a good game because the last game was a little bit, I don't know, tedious, to say the least.
Hello? I need to hide.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but god damn it, it's fun. Acting. That's another bullshit thing about this game. It's very hard to restart. God, it's so punishing. Why in the ass would it be as punishing as it is? Damn it, that's impossible! Fuck you! It's fucking impossible! Ah! I hate life! I hate this game! It's so stupid! Fuck you, game developers! I'm gonna fucking say it, because this game is bullshit! This game is fucking bullshit!
Yeah, he felt strongly about it. Now, why is this important? Because it establishes motive.
So you just got a taste of what Markiplier's like when he, quote unquote, is very angry. And that's just a small taste of what he actually said about the game throughout the 6 or 7 live streams he did of it. Like, he went off a lot because RNG in the game, just like Five Nights at Freddy's, really tends to screw you over. And that would be another interesting topic to talk about, is like game mechanics. But anyhow, let's continue on with the theory, because it gets really crazy from here.
I sat through 17 hours of Markiplier playing this game, and I will be damned if I don't put these notes to good use. Look, I even drew pictures. But back to motive. As previously stated, Mark was consistently open about his downright hatred for the game's RNG, stiff difficulty, and wonky mechanics, even calling out the developers, as you just saw. But why does this matter? Are we really going to theorize that Adam fucked with Markiplier's games because he said some mean shit about him? Yes. Why? Because this wouldn't be the first time it's happened. Enter a little video called Welcome to the Troll. Meet Castora. Castore? Meatcast, a Twitch streamer that frequently played Welcome to the Game 2 after its initial launch and the years that followed, dedicating himself to becoming better at the game despite its near Sisyphean difficulty. And I mean, he played Welcome to the Game 2 a lot, like more than 120 hours in the game a lot, primarily live on Twitch for his viewers to see. However, one fateful day in early 2020 would change all of that. While Cast was playing, he began to wonder how the game's developer, Adam, sourced all the horrific, gory imagery that could be found on the game's different websites.
What even is that sound? Where did this?
So, I did a little bit extra digging, and from what I understand is he was trying to figure out whether or not if those images were real images of corpses that had been butchered, or if Adam had used some kind of AI bot to generate them, which wouldn't have been too far off. But in my opinion, I really doubt Adam went and looked up a bunch of murder scenes and downloaded the pictures and then put them in the game. I mean, he might be a little crazy, but I don't think he's that level of crazy. I don't think he did that. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Sheriff?
Well, I mean, this doesn't look too much outside of what you might see in a regular old criminology course at university.
Yeah, it's like so when you hear the insult that the guys, him and his Cassidy and his chat gives him, you might understand Adam's fury about it.
Where does Adam get that? Right? On my crate? Like, what the fuck, Adam?
After a viewer commented that Adam seemed like a weird guy, Cast responded with this.
Adam is a weird guy. I can never get a good read on Adam, dude. Like, sometimes I feel like all due respect, because I love his games, right? I just want to say my honest opinion based off of what I can tell. Just like a read on a person. I've seen different people say different things about Adam. I've seen different people say Adam is like a legitimate psychopath, and he's got like crazy big issues and shit. And then other people say he's really nice. He always seemed like a big asshole, kind of like an asshole to me. I don't know, because I don't know him personally. I have huge respect for his games, but he always did seem kind of like an asshole. Right?
Now, obviously, that's not nice, and the whole comment was pretty unnecessary. However, what followed next was at least 10 times more unnecessary. As it turned out, Adam was watching the stream, and he didn't much care for Cast's comments. Seemingly out of nowhere, Cast's game became an unwinnable mess, as Adam put him on what he called an auto-script, which would auto-activate both Lucas, the hitman, and the game's secret.
Now I'm going to read the comments from Adam at Reflect Studios. I have you on the auto script now anytime you play the game.
Nah, that's not right, man. That's not right.
Well, if you thought that was bad, get ready for this. So the other character he's about to mention is that fifth character I told you about before I started the recording. Like I said, the character's name is the Doll Maker, and what he does is he butchers his victims, and he usually women, and he turns them into dolls. But he's always wanted to experiment, quote unquote, experiment on a male, and you're going to be the first one he experiments on. Yeah, and to kind of spoil it for everyone, he also explains in his video, the Doll Maker's website is going to have like the pictures of the gory bodies, and also has pictures of what he turns them into. If you hit that website, you will trigger him to spawn, and he'll come to your front door with a little sound box playing in the background, which is like a creepy children's song, version of a children's song. I'm not sure which one. And when that song plays, you pretty much you're screwed at that point. He's already caught you. You're dead. At least from what I understand how the character works. So you have to avoid his website in order to not get killed by him. I'm like, well, that's kind of unfair. Because the websites are randomized, so you have a 50-50 shot. At least in my opinion, that's not fair to the player, because you're asking them to play even more of a luck game on top of them playing. It's like playing slot machines that are designed to kill you, basically, is what it feels like. But that could just be me being a little sissy about it. What do you think, Sheriff?
I think devs shouldn't be able to mess with your gameplay like that. There's one thing if it's an online game where you think maybe someone has an unfair advantage, or maybe they're just a little too good at the game, they just need a little bit more difficult game, that's fine, but to deliberately make the game unwinnable, that's just not cool, man.
I have to agree, and it gets worse from here.
Fifth antagonist, the Doll Maker,
because they have a chance of winning. If I went onto Steam and I found out my game had no people playing ever, I'm literally the only person playing, then I'm probably not going to play it for much longer.
Fair enough.
Real quick note here, I didn't talk about it earlier, but Welcome to the Game 2 has a secret fifth antagonist. Though most players probably won't even come across him, as he's only activated if you go to the Doll Maker's website. Cass never visited that website on the stream, yet, like clockwork,
you hear that music?
Doll Maker still appeared. Now you...
No.
There it goes. If you hear that, because it plays silently either in your right or left ear, depending on where you're sitting at the computer when you're doing in the game when you're doing your hacking thing. It'll usually play in your right ear, but it will play very softly, so you have to pay close attention. Otherwise, he'll sneak up right behind you and then, just like the female serial killer, slit your throat. Yeah, I'm like, you wonder why I keep saying unfair.
Asking yourself, wait, how the hell is Adam able to manipulate Cast's game while he plays? Great question. I don't really know. After reading a few very unhelpful Reddit threads and doing a bit of research, the best explanation I can come up with is that every time you start Welcome to the Game 2, at least whenever this feature existed, your game sent a post request to an external website where Adam was able to see a unique line of code for each player who's connected to the internet while playing. Some people have called this a backdoor into the game, which is the term I'll be using from here on out.
I wouldn't call it a backdoor. What I would call it is more than likely, from what I've seen, at least wise with games like this to make those kind of requests, what it is a request to a server that he would have access to from a developer website like that, and he would it would show him where it would ping, who the address pinged it to, and what the account was connected to. Was it connected to a Steam account or an independent account or whatever? However, he sold the game. And what it would do is it would hit that server, and that server would send it to a website that would ping it on him that he could easily access. In a sense, it's kind of like a backdoor Trojan, because that's honestly what it reminds me of, is a lot of Trojans, like ransomware, for example, Petya, WannaCry, things like that, where it kind of seems like it's sneaking its way onto your system, and then, well, not quite like them, because those used an exploit in the Microsoft's Windows. The better example would be it's a macOS ransomware. It's called EvilQuest or ThiefQuest. What it does, hackers took over a website called BitTorrent. Took over the Mac version of it, and what they did is they implemented a ransomware into it as a Trojan. What the Trojan would do when you download it, it would install all the software it needed through a thing called Mixinbox. It would install that and hide it from you. In it would be the containments it needs to activate the ransomware. It would wait 3 days, and then on the third day, if it did not spot you using any kind of antivirus to try and clean the system, it would activate, which then it would encrypt your entire disk and demand that you pay anywhere from $50 to $500, depending on how many files it was able to encrypt. That's kind of what it reminds me of, is that kind of backdoor that it can pretty much spy on you and know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, well, fortunately for the most part, the stuff I have on my PC isn't exactly that valuable that I back it up, so the one time I've ever had a device bricked by that sort of thing, I just wiped the whole thing and started from scratch.
Fair enough, and I keep constant. I got cloud service backup, and I've got a couple hard disk backups. So if I can't access the iCloud, I have the disk backups to wipe everything. So, and then I can just re-hook up to the internet and finish grabbing the rest of my stuff. So I'm not too worried about it.
The biggest weakness to a ransom attack is literally the assumption that you value that data so much that you would pay the money. And it's like, well, what if you didn't care that much about it and you just wiped it? There you go. You've got nothing, and I've lost my data. But assuming I know what data was lost, there's every chance I could get it back.
Or fix it to where the data is useless.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you get saucy pics, or spicy pics, then that might be a different story. But at that point, that's blackmail.
There's always more being uploaded all the time.
That's a fair enough statement. But anyhow, I'm not, and I just also want to state this. If Adam happens to watch the video, no, I'm not calling you a ransomware hacker. No, I'm not saying you're a part of any of those groups. I'm just stating that based on the evidence I've seen here and my research prior into it, it honestly sounds like you made a Trojan for a video game rather than just a video game. Just in case he happens to watch the video, I just want to state that's what I think. So let's continue on.
I'm finding out which line of code belongs to the player he intends to mess with, and then, well, see for yourself.
I accidentally insulted Adam when he was in the stream, so my account got put on an auto script so that the doll maker and the hitman would be active instantly. So like my game is like hard stuck unplayable on my account now. It's pretty fucking bad. It's bugged. It's actually bugged. It's actually bugged. What the fuck was that? I couldn't click on that square.
Yeah, with that post, if you've already got that recording, you've got proof that
I can't.
you could potentially please him with a lawyer.
Account. Kill me. I knew it. I had it. I knew. I just knew. It's just as
I'm curious to see what the assassin actually said in English. That's Adam playing the song intentionally. Just to screw with him.
You can't keep getting away with it!
To mess with Cast's game for a combined 2 hours, consistently spawning Lucas and the Dollmaker over and over and over again.
Lucas is the name of the assassin.
But I mean, it's not too bad, right? I mean, it's an auto script. Chances are that Adam just put his game on it and then left the stream a while ago. It's still shitty, but oh, wait, no. There would...
So, he stated that, so Cassie states, I don't think it was an auto script. A whole bunch of audience members also stated, did Adam forget to turn off the auto script? Or I don't think Adam turned on an auto script at all. To which then Adam takes away his membership, because if you on Twitch, if you subscribe, your name can change. You can set it where the person's name will change to purple to show that they have subscribed to you. Yep. He unsubscribed, turned around, and posted in the comments this. Exactly, there was no auto script. I've been doing it, I've been manually trolling you this entire time. That is fucked on levels. That if Adam happens to see that, Adam, if you happen to see this, this is how I feel about you at the moment.
You're fired! All right!
That's how I feel about you. What do you think, Sheriff?
Well, that shows some serious small dick energy, in my opinion. If you are so easily offended that you're going to go around and ruin a customer's gaming experience, then don't be surprised if that customer spreads the word and you have no one buying your product ever again.
It's like this. Mind you, the guy was trying to do a speed run too, so he ruined one of the biggest speed runs he had going. And speed running can make you some really good money on Twitch. YouTube, not so much, but on Twitch, you can make some really good money doing speed runs. So he was not only fucking him over gameplay-wise, but money-wise, too. I honestly have no respect for that. Like, I think it was wrong for him to call him a weird and an asshole. I think Cassie was in the wrong there. Instead of agreeing with honest members, she'd be like, look, I talked to him personally. I don't think he's a weird guy. I just think that's kind of weird that he put gory images like that in the game. I understand he's trying to be realistic. Just my personal opinion, that's weird that you put it in the game. If he had said that and Adam did this, then I would have even less respect for Adam. But I still have no respect for Adam because that was retarded and I apologize for using that word, but I don't also describe the fact that he manually trolled him for 2 hours. 2 hours he sat there and screwed with the guy's game instead of telling the guy to go fuck himself and that he's not going to be... tell him to go fuck himself and block him on Twitter. That's what I would have done. I was like, oh, if that's how you feel about me, go fuck yourself then. You know, I've done that to people. If you, I tell them, like, if you really think I'm that weird and that creepy and whatever, then go fuck yourself. I don't need to be your friend. Am I wrong? Oh, I think the sheriff died on me.
The fact remains that as a game dev, you're going to get criticism anyway. It doesn't matter what you do. Someone's going to criticize it, so you have to roll with the punches.
Fair enough. Well, but I'm not referring so much to the game as just like it personally attacking me when I befriend you and everything. I find that disrespectful. However, I do, like I said, I think what Adam did was worse than what Cassie did. If Adam told Cassie, go fuck yourself, I don't like you anymore, I would have been like, well, I don't see a problem with that. And I would have said the same thing myself, and that's what the person thought of me. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, I appreciate you calling me weird. Yeah, that makes me happy-go-lucky. But again, staring exactly at his text, I just can't get over the last line. I've been manually trolling you this entire time. It's not, to me, it's one thing if he accidentally turned on a script, or not accidentally, like he turned on a script, he left the stream, came back, realized he had left the script on when turned it off, and apologized. Like, look, I only intended for it to stay on for a few minutes. I got sidetracked trying to do something else, and apologized profusely for it. Then I would say, okay, that was a mistake. That he was trying to be funny and he screwed up. Obviously, he's probably not going to make that mistake again. I think he should get some forgiveness, but the fact that he manually did it is where I have so much trouble with. Well, let's continue on with the video.
Autoscript, and Adam has spent the last 2 hours manually ruining Cast's game, repeatedly. At first, Cast assumes that it's just a practical joke that Adam's playing on him, but Mr. Flatow wastes no time killing that theory, admitting that he did all of it.
So, I'm going to read you these texts, and then I want you to give me your opinion on what you think. Adam, after Cassie says, oh, this must have been a giant practical joke. He's just screwing me. Adam replies back, you straight up called me an asshole when you've been farming my game for viewership. I want you to think about that phrase. Viewing for viewership. Farming for viewership.
You do it, Adam. You're sitting there saying that in front of everyone else, saying, I can mess with your game anytime. So you can try and get some people to say, oh, so-and-so got owned. Doesn't sound particularly friendly to me.
I want Adam to think about something real quick. If that is so the case, then what the hell are you doing then? Like, what the hell, bro? What kind of logic is that? I think that's some, my opinion, I think that makes you a
Dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're great.
Oh, like I said, it's small dick energy, man. Hey, look, I can mess with your game at any time. Look at that. My username has the name of the studio attached. It's like, yeah, you ever heard of something called brand damage, dude?
Yeah, pretty much so.
I mean, why do you think McDonald's says, oh, that old lady, she didn't burn herself that bad? It's like, no, she fucking burned herself really fucking bad. You're just spreading that shit because you know how damaging it is to your brand that you did that.
Like, that you allowed one of your many different restaurants to be careless in the safety of the customers. So you turn around and spread lies and misinformation that took decades after she'd passed to finally be exposed. It took a TV show, a bunch of comedians and writers to finally expose the truth of the situation for you and a whole bunch of YouTubers, for everyone to actually know the truth. And even so, I still meet people who do not know the real story about what happened to that grand lady. Like, all she wanted you to do was just pay for the surgery. That's it. She didn't want any extra money. It was only $20,000. But apparently you just couldn't pay $20,000. I don't know about you, but I would have paid the $20,000 instead of the $62 million that you had to pay out instead. I'm just saying. Just saying. And I would have turned around and stated that the employees violated our safety standards and will be thoroughly investigated, and those responsible will be held accountable. And that holding would have been firing, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's what I would have done. But that's just me. But let's get back to the video, because he's pretty much laid out to you the theory so far of what he thinks happened to Markiplier based on what Halloween Ho said.
Because Cast called him an asshole. He then goes on to claim that Cast was farming his game for viewers.
I mean, that's what Twitch is.
Before threatening to leak his and Cast's Twitter.
This right here is where I lost all respect for him. Like, if you thought he was bad, you're gonna love this. So he comments, should I share my DMs, your DMs to me? Are you upset that I don't always respond to you? Bruh.
And there's some real first person character, whatever you call it, lead character syndrome.
Yeah, lead character syndrome is what called. Look. With me, the only time I share my DMs is if I need to clarify something with someone, or if I'm taking a screenshot for safety purposes. The only time I share that DM is either with a lawyer or with a close friend that I'm trying to share a picture that I took a screenshot from the chat of someone I was with. That's about it. Other than that, I don't run around leaking everybody's DMs. I don't share everybody's DMs. So the fact of the matter is that you made these kind of comments is fucked in the head so bad that I don't even know where to begin. I don't even think therapy would be able to help you. If this is really how you think, well, look me in the eyes, there's no helping you. And that's about how I feel about it. Like, you spent 2 hours messing with a man's life, messing with his money, messing with his time, because you didn't like what he had to say about you putting gory pictures in your game. Because I didn't hear Cassidy call you an asshole, and I went and listened to it. I didn't hear it. He said you were weird. There's a difference between calling you an asshole and calling you weird. And the fact you got that kind of level of butthurt just tells me that I probably wouldn't want to be friends with you. Because what if I say something like that to you? What are you going to do? You could potentially try to make me look like a monster for no good reason. That's how I feel about it. What about you, Sheriff?
It just makes you sound like a 5-year-old, dude.
This is like, I've just got no respect for people who act like this. But let's continue on with the video, because it actually gets entertaining from here.
To which Castora goes ahead and shows all their messages live on stream. Adam goes on to block Cast on Twitter and kick him from the official Reflect Studios Discord server.
He ruined
Feel
the
that
game,
pain.
sabotaged the stream, and then blocked me on Twitter.
Class act. Now, was this justified? I don't care. I'll tell you what it is, though. Proof that Adam can and has fucked with people's streams in the past, all because of a single insult against him. Now that we know that, were there any times in which Mark made insults toward—
Fuck you! It's fucking impossible! Fuck you, game developers! I'm gonna fucking say it, because this game is bullshit! This game is fucking bullshit! It's fucking stupid, and it's broken, and your hack games are inconsistent! It's just so fucking bullshit! It's fucking bullshit! I don't care who knows it! It's fucking bullshit!
That was a trick question. We have our motive and we have our means. Hell, we even know that Adam was watching at least a few of Mark's streams thanks to Mark visiting his Twitter.
Whoa, shit, are they gonna fuck with my game?
And from a few now deleted tweets of Adam's life.
So you're gonna love these tweets. Just give up at Markiplier. You're making me nervous. Thanks for playing again, Markiplier. I think you'll get it next round. Lol. It works just fine, Markiplier. Get good, I guess is the last word. And also, Markiplier, please try to find the link to the second Deep Web wiki. So, yeah, obviously he was watching. None of those by themselves, without Cassie's story, those by themselves wouldn't seem too bad. But now, like you know, and I already previously knew about what happened with Cassie, it sounds like a pretty compelling theory, doesn't it? So let's continue on with the video.
Actions. It seems pretty open and shut. Mark incurred the wrath of Adam from Reflect Studios due to his consistent anger and criticism of both the game and its developers. And Adam, who we've just proved has the ability to do so, punished Mark like he punished Cast, making his game unwinnable. Or did he?
So, here's the part of the video where things get a little bit nebulous. You see, I would love to be able to say to you that I can prove without a shadow of a doubt that Adam fucked with Markiplier's game. However, it doesn't seem very likely. After taking pretty extensive notes on all 17 plus hours of Markiplier's streams of the game, how long he was on each Wi-Fi, all of his deaths, what Adam was able to do with the game at the time in its current build, it doesn't look like he actually messed with this game. Trust me, I wish that I could say that he did, because it would have made for a much better story, but after reviewing all of this stuff, it doesn't seem pretty likely. And if anything, the evidence shows that it's almost certain he didn't. Let me explain.
As previously stated, I went ahead and took a shit ton of notes on all of Markiplier's streams. 17 hours worth of Welcome to the Game 2 content, just so I could fully familiarize myself with the mechanics of the game, as well as be able to properly suss out any foul play. I analyzed every single game over that he experienced, matched it up with the mechanics of the game that we knew to be true, and even kept a timer for how long Mark was on every Wi-Fi connection, all to see if there was any amount of manipulation afoot. And honestly, there really wasn't. The most suspicious thing I saw was in the 6th and final stream, in which Mark dies to Noir 2 times in a row, in a death that even the game's Wikia describes as an obscure insta-kill. Again, it's not conclusive evidence that the game was rigged, but it is weird that something that most people call obscure or a pseudo-glitch happened 2 times in a row. Another hole in this theory is the timeline itself. You see, Adam released his troll update for Welcome to the Game 2 in early May of 2020, whereas Markiplier's streams of the game took place throughout April 2018. Now, you can make the argument that someone as tech-savvy as Adam the Web Pro could have had access to this sort of feature since the game's initial release, but that would require looking for the specific dev tools in the earlier patches of the game, none of which would be an easy task, at least if you're me. So again, you could make the argument that Adam had the ability to fuck with Markiplier's games all the way back in 2018, but it would really only be conjecture at that point.
So you see what I mean? There really is no definitive way to say for certain that he messed with his game with the current available information that we have. However, let me ask you a question. Why are we talking about this? Like, why is this a thing? Should developers really be able to mess with our games while we play them? What kind of ethical issues does that bring up overall? somebody should make a YouTube video about that. That's
So that to me, that's a pretty interesting question. And so far, if I was brand new to this video, I would say no. The developers should not be allowed to troll anybody. Period. But since I've already previously seen this video, and I stated at the beginning, I still don't think developers should, at least not in the way that Adam did it. At least not that level of control where you pretty much will know the person's IP address, you know where they're streaming from, and you can pretty much leak that out for anyone to find. But that's my opinion so far. What do you think, Sheriff?
I stick by what I said before. It depends on the situation and the context. You know, it's one thing being a game master in an online game, ramping up the difficulty because you think they're winning too easily, versus doing this and making the game literally unplayable.
True. So let's continue on with let's continue on with the video. Because I think you'll like how some of the other developers implemented it in.
assholes. This whole video was a red herring to talk about the real topic of the video. Ethics and player experience. So let's talk about developer tomfoolery in video games. For the sake of relevancy as well as the fact that it's, fun to talk about, I'm going to be using Adam and his troll update as the main crux of the argument here, because his implementation and subsequent abuse of said update really bring up our biggest ethical questions here. The first being, is it ethical for developers to have access to our games while we play them, if that kind of access can be abused? And two, if that is okay, what does proper implementation in trolling in this sense actually look like? To get an idea of what I mean, let's take a look at a few other instances in which developers either trolled or interacted with their players while they played.
Take the devs for the game Blackout Club, for example. Blackout Club is a co-op horror game that features a group of teenagers trying to unearth the truth behind some paranormal events happening within their little town. The game is novel for its enhanced horror feature that, when opted into, allows for players' voices to be recorded and potentially responded to by the actual developers of the game. Their responses are oftentimes just vague allusions to the game's greater lore, and the developer interaction with players don't go much further than that. Honestly, it's a pretty neat little feature that adds a whole new aspect of replayability and intrigue to the game. Another example is Cluster Truck, a game that's become nearly ubiquitous with its developers' sudden appearances during live streams. Just look up Cluster Truck dev trolling, and you'll find a veritable treasure trove of examples of them joining random streamers and, let's say, enhancing the gameplay.
That means so much to me.
Watch this.
Oh my god.
These developer cameos can range from just them taking the piss with the game's text overlay feature to adding entirely new obstacles like missile barrages, loss of gravity, and all kinds of other weird shit. And as opposed to a backdoor like Welcome to the Game 2's case, Cluster Truck instead makes use of Twitch integration, a feature that streamers can opt into to allow their audience, and sometimes the devs, to dictate what happens in their game. You're probably noticing a trend here. In most, if not all of these instances of developers messing with their players, most, if not all of them, really find the experience to be, well, really cool or rewarding.
These guys are fucking brilliant.
This is super cool.
And on the face of it, I agree. Most, if not all of these devs only actively mess with their players with intentions of either enhancing the game itself or just playing a practical joke, one that most of the time the players are happy to be a part of. And this is sort of the main defense that Adam and his fans have used when it comes to defending the Troll Update's existence, is that at the end of the day...
So let's see. Okay, it's not blurred out too much that I can't see. I can't fully read it. So it goes, back in May, I did a troll update for Welcome to the Game 2 to try and entertain people, which overall people did have fun. But it did not stop a small group of people from being offended. So they're starting to spread rumors that I was farming IP addresses and using them to dox and harass others. I mean, think about it. Go back to, I would tell Adam, go back and look at what you did with Cassie. Why wouldn't people think that you're trying to dox and harass them?
In a little bit.
Why, am I wrong?
Well, in this case, it seems most people are opting in, rather than it being there and you have no say in the matter.
Well, welcome
So
to the
in a
game.
way you could say that there's implied permission by them opting in.
Well, with the other games, you have to, with like Twitch integration, you have to set that up with your account. With Blackout, you have to turn on that feature in order for it to work. With Welcome to the Game, it was automatically installed. There was no opt-in or opt-out. The moment you downloaded the game during the update, that was it. You, quote-unquote, gave permission by buying the game. And that's what he's talking about here. Does buying the game constitute giving them permission to do whatever they want to you when you play the game? Or should it be an opt-in feature that you decide that you want to opt in on?
I believe opting in would be better because, let's be honest, no one really reads the EULA anymore unless you force them to scroll down. But even then, half the time it's just grabbing the slider and then just dragging it right down quickly.
Yep, that's probably what I end up doing most of the time is, yeah, I'm aware you pretty much get to use my data as you see fit, as long as I'm using your software. Yeah, I get it. You're going to sell it to a whole bunch of third parties and other countries so you can make money off of the product. I get that. Where do I sign so that way I can use the product? Granted, that's not exactly the smartest thing to do, because technically I should read it, but half the time I'm usually pretty busy or I'm in a hurry and I need to use this right away.
Or you just want to play the damn game and not fuff around.
Yeah, I'm not here to read a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. I'm here to play the game. If I want to read mumbo jumbo, then I'll go read a court document on a case.
Easy. Those are easily found by Google.
Pretty much so. Anyhow, let's continue with the video.
It was only meant to be a joke. True to this defense, there are a few recorded instances in which Adam messes with streamers' games in a mostly unintrusive and just sort of meany way. Whether that be through playing music over the in-game PC's browser, writing the little notes in-game, or just adding the occasional mild inconvenience.
Where did that plane from?
If that were all he did, then I'd probably not be making this video right now, since this sort of thing is just, I don't know, tame and innocent. But as Adam's shown us, this feature can absolutely be abused.
Before we go on though, I want to talk a little bit about that defense that both Adam and his fan base have had. This is way too much fucking white. Maddie, hand me the Markiplier. So before we go on, let's talk about the defense that Adam and his fan base have had about the Troll Update's existence, because the official story that Adam has said was that this was meant to be a harmless update, primarily made to entertain an audience, his fan base, so to speak. A lot of his fans that quote that there was nothing wrong with this primarily use that as their main defense. However, let's actually talk about that, because I'm not in love with that defense. You see, who was the Troll Update made for? Because I'm willing to bet it wasn't made for you and me. No, the Troll Update was made for a very specific person, Adam himself. If you're watching Adam troll people on different streams and you found that amusing whatsoever, that was a pleasant byproduct of what was essentially, at the end of the day, supposed to be Adam just fucking around and playing God for the hell of it. And come on, you really gonna tell me that in that 2-hour trollathon that Adam had against Cast, in which he actively admitted to him that he was doing this because he called him an asshole and he was pissed off and threatened to leak his DMs, that he did the entire 2 hours of ruining his game to be entertaining, to entertain his audience? No.
That face right there, that face says it all.
That's the thing. In that case, it wasn't his audience; it was someone else's audience.
Yeah, I don't think it was for any audience. I think it was just for Adam, just to play. How do I phrase it in a way that makes sense? For Adam to play like dictator.
Yeah, it sounds like you got your fifis hurt, or that you felt your dong wasn't hard enough, so you just had to mess with someone to make it feel even bigger.
Yeah. You were thinking you were giving big dick energy.
Long enough to actually pay attention, dude.
It's like what was it? You thought you were giving big dick energy, but in reality, you were giving small dick energy.
Yep.
That's pretty much how I would look at it. That also, let me grab the soundboard real quick. What he needs to start doing is
Stop fucking around!
that's what he needs to do, but I have a feeling he won't. So on with the video.
He was vengeful. He was vindictive. And it was amusing to only one person. And I bet you can guess who.
But jokes or not, let's talk about the issue with indie devs being able to manipulate and ruin your game while you play. Even if the official reasoning behind it is for the sake of some lighthearted fun, it's still ultimately signing up unknowing consumers of your game up for an experience that, in most cases, they didn't actively opt into. At least in the case of Welcome to the Game 2. You see, unlike Backroom Club that allows you to decide whether you want to enable the dev tomfoolery or not, or Cluster Truck and its Twitch integration, Welcome to the Game 2 had no such feature. When the troll update was in effect, there was no way for you to be able to opt out of it, essentially making the risk of Adam's manipulation of your game a potentiality every time you opened it. To make matters worse, and I could be wrong here, but I wasn't able to find any actual documentation of Adam announcing this update to the game. Now, he may have made an announcement on his Twitter that was later deleted, or maybe I'm just not finding the obscure dev post hidden somewhere on the internet, but the way it looks right now is that Adam created and released the troll update without telling people. And it was only discovered that he had the ability to mess with players' games after he had already started actively doing so. So not only could you not opt out of this dev trolling, but there's the potential that a lot of people didn't even know that that was a possibility at the time. And that raises the question too of, is your mere launching of the game tacit approval of having Adam mess with you? Now I want to make something clear here because it's important that we understand a few things before going into whether this sort of thing is ethical or not. The chances of Adam actively messing with your game and ruining your experience, at least while the update was in effect, were very slim. From all the research I've done, it seems like Adam was only interested in trolling people who were streaming the game, primarily because there was a bigger audience and because Adam could actually see his trolling having an effect in real time. If you weren't streaming the game and were just playing it, Adam would essentially have no reason to troll you, outside of deciding to be an asshole to one person in particular. But while the chances of him messing with some random person's game is slim to pretty much zero, you still have to consider that while the update existed, it was still a possibility, despite how slim. I found an old speedrunning guide to Welcome to the Game 2 that was posted around the time the troll update went live. It describes how anyone wanting to speedrun the game should strongly consider downgrading their copy or downloading a patch that would effectively remove the
I'll read it here. Strongly recommended to download the mod that disables the dev tools described in the third section of this guide before speedrunning to use the latest patch, although I would not recommend using the latest patch for the speedruns. So, just with that context alone right there, without reading the rest of it, that right there should tell you already how people felt about it. Like, it pretty much looked like it kind of just, it lays it all out to you that obviously that was bad. I was just, people didn't like it. And I don't blame him, because if I saw what he did to Cassie, I'd be like, why the fuck would I ever touch this game? I could risk my IP getting leaked because I said something that he didn't like. He could ruin my speed runs, cost me money, cost me viewership, paint me out to look like the bad guy, all because I thought he was kind of weird. You see what I'm saying?
It is kind of weird at how he's so focused on messing with other people.
Rather than just having his...
Being the bullied kid at school, so you have that kind of thought process.
We're not trying to be psychologists either, but on the same token, what else are we supposed to believe? That this was for fun? Because you heard the other two examples, those were implemented around the same time that yours was, and yet those had consent. You had to give consent for it to happen, otherwise it wasn't going to happen.
To be fair, when I was in university, I did study 3 papers of psychology.
Well, I should say I'm not trying to be a psychologist. The sheriff over there is trying to be a psychologist.
I wouldn't say trying to be, because I didn't actually finish with even a minor in psychology. I decided in the end it was too hard.
You know what? That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
You know what? It's too much work and too difficult to do. I'ma just leave this here and pick up to history.
Fair enough. Anyhow, let's continue on with the video.
Tools that made Adam's trolling possible. Honestly, it's sort of ominous reading about what speedrunners had to go through to make sure their runs wouldn't become invalidated. No longer are you just fighting against virtual antagonists to the game's unforgiving RNG, but instead, you're up against a real, tangible person who, despite how unlikely it might be, could actively ruin your speedrun. Forget about Big Brother's watching. Big Brother's playing.
And he wants a piece
of your ass.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Speedrunners have to actively downgrade their copy of the game to avoid being the target of the developer's personal amusement. It might be time to start asking the question, is this ethical? Is this okay? Is one man's practical joke worth the potential invalidation of a speedrun or the manipulation of someone's desired experience from a product they purchased? Should we be okay with this practice becoming more commonplace, even if further abuses aren't all that common? Is the potentiality of another Adam-type troll too high of a risk for developers to continue to engage in this kind of trolling? And if the answer to that is no, shouldn't players, or rather consumers at the very least, have a say in whether they consent to have the games they bought messed with by an outside force? Sure, we don't actually own any of the digital media we purchase, but we do own access to it. And if you bought Welcome to the Game 2 around the time of the Troll Update's release with the express hope to get a grounded, hardcore horror experience, and you instead were met with sort of that, mixed in with the developer playing Dr. Disrespect music and putting dumbass pop-ups on your screen, wouldn't it be fair to say that you didn't really get what you paid for? You see, I don't want to come across as anti-fun here. A lot of you watching are probably not going to see an issue with this sort of thing, since most of the time developers troll their players, it's been a positive experience. And I too think that there's definitely a place for this kind of developer interaction between themselves and their consumers. But my main point here is that shouldn't players get a say in whether they want to have that experience? Should all games that feature developer trolling follow in the footsteps of Backroom Club or Cluster Truck's Twitch integration and have this kind of feature be opt-in only? But wouldn't that negate the possibility of being trolled? Isn't the spontaneity half the fun, I hear you ask? And sure, it may ruin the surprise for some people, but at the end of the day, the likelihood of the devs messing with your specific game after you opted into the feature would still be as likely as it would have been if you hadn't been given the option. The only difference now is that you're aware that you could be given this kind of experience, and you're actually consenting to potentially having it. That's why this is so up to interpretation. You may think that I'm being too reactionary or pearl-clutching, and that making a whole video about one instance of a developer abusing their powers happening in a sea of positive experiences is ultimately unnecessary. On the other hand, if you're not all that in love with the idea that a developer can have access to your game, see when you play it, or be able to mess with you without your permission, then you'd probably think that there's some merit to having this conversation. So in the end, the answer to our two questions are ultimately up to you. Do you think the developers should have the ability to mess with our individual experiences for the sake of their own amusement? Even if there's the potential of it being a really shitty, abusive experience like in Castora's situation?
That is fucking pathetic!
And if you do think the developer trolling should happen, do you think that it's best to have it locked behind a menu setting that you have to actively opt into? Or do you prefer the spontaneity of being auto-signed up for it as soon as you launch the game? Questions like these don't have easy answers, and more likely than not, you could make a pretty strong argument for why developer trolling is either fine and awesome, or presents a glaring ethical dilemma for players' personal privacy and their...
So we're getting towards the end of the video, so I'm going to start laying out parts for my final argument for why I think trolling, as far as developers trolling, is not ethically okay. So, my standpoint is this. If I bought your game, it's not an online service game, and there's no way for me to opt out of getting trolled, then in my opinion, I'm being robbed of my experience with the game. And the other thing is, are you really that dependent? Excuse me, I just ate not so long ago. Are you that dependent on having that trolling aspect that your game itself can't give me that? The RNG you built in can't give me that experience then, if that's what you're trying to sell your game on. Are you really that dependent on it? Because if so, you might want to go back to the drawing board with the kind of games that you're making. That's why I'm going to stand off for now until the video is done. Do you want to give any of your closing arguments beforehand, or do you want to wait until the video is finished?
I'll wait till it finishes. It might make my point for me.
Experiences with the games they purchase. Ultimately, though, that's up for you to decide. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. In the past year, we haven't really seen as many instances of developer trolling, at least not to the extent of years past. I wasn't able to find any more clips of the cluster truck devs messing with streamers from like the last 4 years, and from what I've been able to figure out from my research, it seems like they don't really do that anymore. The Backroom Club still has its enhanced horror feature, which continues to be opt-in only. In August of 2020, Adam took to Twitter to officially announce that he was rolling back the troll update to Welcome to the Game 2.
So, basically, he was addressing the rumors that he was stealing people's IP addresses and leaking them. And he basically states that he wasn't doing that, that he was getting tired of people getting offended by it, so he was effectively removing the trolling tools from the game. That's in a long Twitter thread he made shortly after he implemented the update.
And that he would never be doing anything like this ever again. He states that the toxicity of cancel culture and the like were the main reasons of him doing so, which seems like a really weird way to say I was held accountable for my shitty actions, so I'm backpedaling an already controversial feature, but hey, I guess eating crow isn't his first language. Though as Adam continues work on his next all-online multiplayer experience, Masks of Deception, it's worth pondering the question, how soon is never again? Also, I wasn't going to mention this, but this game is pretty much just Among Us with exorcisms, and is also, as some of you keen-eyed viewers may have noticed, not Rides with Strangers. Markiplier is still out there making an unfathomable amount of money.
Yes.
And Castora continues to stream on Twitch, though doesn't play many Reflect Studio games anymore. Couldn't imagine why.
Gee, I wonder why.
And so, noble viewer, at the end of the day, the answer is ultimately up to you. All of our ethical questions that I brought up, that's for you to decide. But if nothing else, I do hope that I was able to get you thinking about an aspect of gaming you may not have before. I'd like to give a big shout out to Samantha Sims or Halloween Host 69 on TikTok. Their video about conspiracy theories inspired this, like, I think a year and a half ago. I've been wanting to make this video, so big shout out to them. Go follow their TikTok page. They make really good content. And also, sorry about the fact that you probably got like 17 different notifications that I kept viewing your profile. I promise, I'm not a stalker. I'm a video essayist, which might be worse. And of course, if you like this video, be sure to like this video and subscribe. And do anything else you do at the end of a YouTube video. I would say click on other content on the channel, but it's mostly just 15-year-old me reading creepypastas very badly. So maybe avoid that if possible. I want to keep making content like this in the future, and who knows, if we hit a like goal of 2, I may even talk about some even more niche topics, oh boy! But, of course, at the end of the day, I hope you guys enjoyed. And hey, who knows, maybe, just maybe, in a few more months and a few more of these, I may actually know how to end a YouTube video. Bring it on, bring it down!
So, what's your closing argument for this?
it sort of made the answer for me. Like I mentioned brain damage, and look what happened. He had to backpedal because people started saying, well, why does he have that access? What is he doing with it? Because no one opted in. No one was told what it was. And there's that streamer who just will never use their... Well, it doesn't say never, but it sort of implies that they'll never ever play that studio's games again, which means they'll probably tell their friends, don't play the game because the lead developer might just show up in your game and ruin it for you.
Well, in one of Cassie's live streams afterwards, and I could be mistaking what he said, but he mentioned basically he'll never play those games again. Or never play them from that developer again after all the comments that he had made. And I don't blame him. If you threaten to leak my DMs and you're trying to make me look like some kind of horrible monster just because I thought that was weird that you had allegedly real corpses in the game. And then you make up a story that he was calling you an asshole, and that is true. He did kind of say you were an asshole, but on the same token, if the guy was talking to you, you could at least acknowledge his messages. Well, like my point stands. I don't think troll developing like that should be implemented. It should be done like Blackout Club, where you have to opt in to do it. It's turned off by default.
Yeah, but also in this case, you got to ask, how far are we calling it trolling? Because wouldn't saying that you were making a really cool game, and then when you get the game, it looks like shit, also trolling? Because then you're sort of trolling through the promotional videos and stuff.
Well, that's more misleading and lying, basically, rather than trolling, because you're not, unless you intentionally state afterwards that you did that, that's more misleading marketing. That's what it's called.
Well, there is a reason why we used to call a part of E3 Todd Howard Lies.
I've heard about that.
We're making this awesome, cool thing, and then, what was it? Another Skyrim re-release.
Because of course he was.
Why don't you just remaster Morrowind? Everyone that I speak to about the Elder Scrolls agrees that Morrowind's story was better, and updating the mechanics to something similar to Skyrim would just improve it.
Pretty much so.
I mean, we might have issues with some purists saying, that D&D style of whether or not I hit them or not. You might get some who say I liked it better that way, but you can always make it so that it's far more skill-based. And if smaller gaming studios can get that right and you can't, then we really need to ask what your vision for games is. Like, if we go back to the first video where they said, we have a vision for this game, we will not compromise for you. Well, now that you got Microsoft's money, you could make something like Morrowind yet again. But instead, you're more interested in some linear, cookie cutter, formula-based thing that makes everyone go, well, I've kind of played this before in something else. So, really, gaming companies, in my opinion, are trolling even in the promotional videos.
That's a fair enough argument to that. I call it misleading rather than trolling, because to me, trolling, you have the intent of intentionally ruining something for someone, whereas I consider that misleading because you state one thing and then you do the opposite, and then you backpedal afterwards. Because with trolling, you say it and then you do it, and then you tell that person, I did so for such and such reasons.
Well, then what do we call Fallout 76? I mean, it's not like
Fallout 76 was a bad game. That was just a bad idea all around.
It's not just that it was a bad game. If you remember the special edition, the so-called canvas bag didn't even turn out to be canvas.
Well,
And then they had to say, "Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get one out to you." And it's like, you wouldn't have had to. It wouldn't have had to reimburse people for buying your game if you had have just delivered what you promised.
well, like I said, that falls back
It
to
was as much a money grab as it was just Todd Howard and his mates saying, "You know what? That's kind of funny that we messed with them." And yes, for legal reasons, that's a fucking joke.
like I said, once again, I believe that falls under misleading. But anyhow, to get back to the video, how do we feel about this one in the theory? Do you believe that Adam may have participated in trolling Markiplier in a sense, or do you think that Cassidy was the only one he actually intentionally tried to fuck over?
I can't say anything about Markiplier because there's no evidence, but I would say that it's possible that he messed with more than just Cassidy's game. I mean, if he had the chance, he was clearly happy to use it beforehand and took great delight in messing with someone's game, so there's every chance that he could well have done that.
In my opinion, I agree with Spaceman that I don't think it happened to Markiplier. That was simply just the RNG in the game was set too difficult to win. And as far as like Cassidy, obviously he admitted to the fact that he did it, so obviously it happened with him. But I think there may have been more than one streamer that it also happened to, and he didn't admit to it. But that's just my opinion, again, based on the evidence here and what little research I did afterwards. But anyhow, as far as the video itself, how would you rank the video?
Out of 4, he lays it out pretty logically, shows what evidence is available, rather than just casting aspersions.
Oh man, you're cutting out.
Am I cutting out? Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh very dear. I guess that means I have to. That means I gotta fire you.
You're fired!
Nah, it's just my cat trying to make love to my arm at the moment.
Oh my. But anyhow, on a scale of 0 to 5 stars, what would you rank this video?
Out of 4, I mean, it was kind of long, a lot of rambling in there, and it didn't all feel like it was relevant. Like, it was cool that he set the scene and sort of tried to explain what he was talking about, but he could have been a little bit more to the point.
Felt there was a little too much in the way of joking.
Yeah, I mean, I like it when I make the jokes, not the other way around.
I liked the jokes and the commentary, so I'm going to give it 4.5. I do think a couple of the jokes probably could have been cut, and he would have been fine. Like the game journalism joke, while that was kind of funny, it kind of just felt like it interrupted the flow, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, if he had just cut like that one out, I would have given it a 5-star rating because for the most part, everything's pretty logical. Everything makes sense. The jokes, for the most part, that were besides the game journalism one, were funny, especially like the TikTok stalking one. I thought that was kind of funny because I understand that because I've done that before where I'm like trying to research a person's video to see if it's true or not, and I keep going back to their page because I have to keep reloading the app because I forget that I turned off background refreshing. I keep forgetting to turn that off, so every time I leave the app for a certain amount of time, the iPhone refreshes it back to the home screen. So I have to go back and go through history to find the video, click on the account, and then watch the video again. So it ends up making me look like I'm stalking that person when I'm not. So you know what? This is what you're doing right now.
fuck around, I fuck around. Yeah, fuck yeah.
And this is what you should be doing.
Stop fucking around.
Oh my lord. Anyhow, I appreciate everyone who's watched the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let's give a special thanks to the sheriff for joining me today.
Howdy.
Where's the applause button? Where did I put it? There it is. And thank you everyone for watching the video. I appreciate it. Until next time, make sure you hit the Patreon link below, where you'll get special access to content that is not available here on YouTube. And also, join the Discord too. It will also be in Patreon. And follow me everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Den Tim's LLC, because someone took the name Den Tim's by itself. Jerks. So, until such time, I will see you all later. This is AJ Timms of the Den of Tim's signing out. Have a good one. Yes, I stole that from Rich.